Okay, so I have a question for you. It's one of those questions that feels like it belongs in a dorm room at 3 a.m.,
Oh, I like those.
but it's actually, sitting right at the center of modern physics and philosophy, for that matter.
Let's hear it.
If you had to put money on it, right now, is the universe digital? Like a massive computer simulation, all discrete zeros and ones? Or is it analog fluid, continuous like a river?
Ah, that is the ultimate divide, isn't it? The pixel versus the wave.
Exactly.
You've got the computer scientists on one side screaming digital because they see code in everything.
And the old school physicists on the other side screaming analog because they see fields and curves, and they never seem to agree. It feels like you have to pick a side, pick a tribe. But today, for this deep dive, we're looking at a stack of research that suggests the question itself might be, well, just totally flawed.
We're talking about a concept called gradient ontology.
Which I have to admit sounds terrifyingly academic.
It does. It sounds like something you'd fail a test on for sure.
But it's actually a shortcut, a way to understand how reality is built. And the big headline from all this research is that the universe isn't digital or analog.
It's neither.
And weirdly, it's both. It just depends on how close you're looking.
It is a heavy concept, I'll give you that. But once it clicks, it really does change how you see, well, everything.
So our mission today is to unpack one of the most famous and maybe most misunderstood phrases in physics.
It from bit.
It from bit. It honestly sounds like a marketing slogan for a cloud storage company. Get your it from our bit.
It really does. It was coined by the legendary physicist John Wheeler. And the common take on it, the one we're going to dismantle, is that reality isn't really made of rocks and stars and, tables.
It's made of code, information.
Exactly. That
Yeah.
everything is fundamentally information.
And that idea usually leads people straight down the rabbit hole to simulation theory.
The matrix, yeah. The idea that if we just look close enough, we'll see the pixels.
But that's not what we're talking about today. The papers we're looking at, especially on what's called informational holism, they argue that's a massive oversimplification.
A huge one. They're saying reality isn't just it, the physical stuff, and it isn't just bit, the code. It's a single field that's interacting with itself.
Okay, so let's start there. Let's set the stage with a classic concept. When Wheeler said it from bit, what was he actually getting at? Because I think most people, like you said, just hear computer.
Well, he was trying to get at the origin of existence, but people usually interpret it from bit as a kind of manufacturing pipeline.
A pipeline.
Yeah, you have the bits, the information on one end, and they somehow print out the it physical reality on the other. It implies causation. That information causes matter.
Right, like a 3D printer. The file is the bit, and the little plastic thing that comes out is the it.
One creates the other. It's a linear chain. And the other big assumption is that when he said bit, he meant a literal computer bit, a switch, strictly 0 or 1, off or on.
But the research we're looking at implies that's a kind of category error.
A huge one. And this is where that gradient ontology concept really steps in. The experts in these sources argue that binary, the clean 0 or 1 toggle, is just a representation layer.
It's a map, not the territory.
Exactly. The fundamental level of reality isn't made of clean digital switches.
So the universe is not a giant laptop. That's probably good news.
I think so. The source material uses a very specific term here, structured distinction.
Structured distinction.
Before you can even have a 0 or a 1, you first have to have a gradient probability.
Gradient probability. That feels a lot less solid than a switch.
Well, think of it this way. A light switch is binary, right? It's up or it's down.
Right.
But a dimmer switch, that's a gradient. The argument here is that distinction itself, the difference between things, starts out as a sliding scale, not a toggle.
Okay, so if we ditch the 3D printer idea, where information makes matter, what takes its place? The notes mention phase transition. That brings me back to high school chemistry.
And that is the key mental shift. You have to stop thinking of a factory line and start thinking of water freezing into ice.
Okay.
Water and ice are the same molecules, H2O, they're just in different states of organization. This holistic model in the text suggests that information and matter are a mutual gradient.
A mutual gradient, so they're happening at the same time.
They co-arise. Information condenses into structure, and at the same time, structure constrains information. You can't have the ice without the water molecules arranging themselves in a certain way.
And you can't have that arrangement without the molecules.
Exactly. They happen together.
That is a much trippier concept than just we live in a simulation. It means the simulation and the reality are the same stuff.
Precisely. And to really get your head around this, we have to look at scale. Because the universe behaves very, very differently depending on your zoom level.
Which takes us to section 2 of the research.
Yeah.
The quantum versus the macro, or, as I like to call it, why things get weird at the bottom.
Things get very weird. According to the source, when you look at the quantum scale, the absolute basement level of reality, there is no definite it.
No it. You mean no particles?
Not in the way we think of them, like tiny billiard balls bouncing around. We have this cartoon image of atoms as little solar systems. But down there, at that low density, reality is described as distributed potential.
A gradient field.
It's a gradient field. You have probability, amplitudes, wave functions, superposition.
I always struggle with this part of physics. It's just a cloud of maybe.
It's structured probability. There are no discrete objects yet, just the potential for them to exist.
Okay, but I'm sitting on a chair. It feels very discrete. It's not a potential chair. My coffee cup isn't a maybe cup. How do we get from that cloud of possibility to this solid object I'm touching?
That's the million-dollar question in physics, isn't it? And the source introduces a mechanism they call orthogonal intersection.
Orthogonal intersection. Okay, now we are back in geometry class. Break that down for us.
It's basically about interaction. But here's the crucial clarification, and I love this because it debunks so much of that, that New Age mysticism. You always hear that observation creates reality, right?
Okay. The idea that my consciousness magically collapses the wave function.
That if you close your eyes, the moon disappears, or you can manifest a parking spot by thinking about it.
Right.
The source is very clear on this. Observation is not mystical consciousness. It is orthogonal constraint.
Constraint.
Think of it like a traffic intersection. A car driving freely down a highway is just moving potential. It could go anywhere. But if another car cuts across it orthogonally, it forces an interaction. A crash, a stop, a swerve.
Okay. That interaction defines a specific point in space and time.
So when that distributed gradient interacts with something else, even just a photon hitting an electron, it gets squeezed into a specific state.
It collapses.
Yes, the universe isn't just a gradient. It is gradient plus constraint.
So if I'm following, the discrete solid thing emerges because the fluid possibility got constrained by an interaction.
Perfectly put. And through repeated constraint interactions, things stabilize. They clump together. That's how we get atoms, molecules, our bodies, entire systems.
And that's the macro scale, the world we actually live in.
Right. And at this scale, this high stability scale, things behave discretely. We can use binary logic here because things stay put. A chair is a chair.
It's not 50% a chair and 50% a cat.
Usually not, no. But the big takeaway here is that this discreteness is emergent.
It's a phase transition. The fluid probability condensed into solid reality.
I like that condensation image. Steam is invisible and everywhere, but if you cool it down, constrain it, it becomes water, then ice. It becomes an it.
And that leads right into the core aha moment of this whole deep dive.
The holistic view.
Which is that there's no actual separation.
None. There is no hard line where information stops and physical reality begins. They're just phase states of the same.
Well, the term they use is ontological substrate.
Ontological substrate is a bit of a mouthful. It just means the stuff existence is made of. Bit is simply low-density distinction. It's pattern, difference, relationship. It is high-density stabilization, form, mass, persistence.
So a rock is just information that's been packed really, really tight.
In a sense, yes. And the source drops a specific detail here that it absolutely blew my mind. About gravity.
I circled this in my notes too. It completely reframes gravity. We just think of it as the thing that makes us fall down.
Exactly. We think of it as a force that pulls matter together. But in this model, gravity isn't separate from information.
What is it then?
Gravity is information at high curvature density.
That's hard to wrap my head around. Gravity is heavy info.
It's informational curvature. When the gradient gets dense enough, when enough stuff interacts and constrains itself in one spot, it actually curves the field. That curvature is what we perceive as gravity.
It's all one field.
All one field, which also connects to artificial intelligence, right? The notes mention AI briefly.
You do.
If reality is this gradient, then AI isn't some unnatural alien mind. The source describes it as structured informational gradient exploration.
So it's just another way the field is exploring its own pattern.
It's all just patterns finding other patterns, precisely.
And this is where we need to be careful. Because when you say everything is information, it can sound really abstract, cold, like we're all just numbers in a spreadsheet.
I know what you mean. But the source applies this to things that feel very, very personal to us.
Like our egos.
Exactly. This is where the physics gets psychological.
I mean, I feel like I'm a solid thing.
And it's.
I have a driver's license that says so. I wake up in the same bed every morning.
But are you a solid thing? The source argues that an ego isn't separate from the system. It's a localized condensation of informational patterns.
So I'm just a dense knot of information.
You're a stable basin in the river. Think of a whirlpool. A whirlpool looks like a thing, right? It has a shape, it stays in one place, you can point to it. But it's made entirely of the flowing water. If that water stops flowing, the whirlpool just vanishes.
That is slightly existentially terrifying, but also kind of beautiful. It means we aren't static objects. We're active processes.
You are something the universe is doing, not just something the universe made.
And this applies to bigger things too, right? Like institutions. The notes say governments or corporations follow the same physics.
They do. They're large-scale informational condensations. You can't touch the economy. It's not a physical object, but it has mass in the system. It has gravity. It constrains things, pulls people into its orbit.
Speaking of large-scale conflicts and forces, we have to talk about the Star Wars analogy.
I was hoping we'd get to this.
Because the source material actually uses Star Wars to explain this whole concept. And as a fan, I did not expect that overlap.
It's a surprisingly perfect way to visualize gradient ontology.
Okay, so usually we think of Star Wars as the ultimate dualism. Light side versus dark side. Good, evil, binary.
Right. But the source says, in a gradient ontology, the Jedi and the Empire are not moral categories.
Wait, the Empire isn't evil? They blew up a planet? That seems pretty definitive.
Well, functionally evil, sure. But in the physics of this model, they're informational density states inside a field.
Okay, I'm unpack that for you.
Think of the Force as the gradient field, the substrate. The Jedi represent one stable basin in that gradient, one way of organizing the information. The Empire represents another stable basin.
So they're just different types of structure.
Exactly. The source suggests that light represents structure, order, connection. Dark represents raw information, potential, maybe even chaos. They aren't opposites at war. They are variations in density.
That completely changes how you watch the movies. It's not about destroying the other side. It's about balancing the tension between structure and potential.
Which is exactly what the holistic model is about. It illustrates that you can't have just light, pure structure because then everything is frozen. It's totalitarian. Nothing can move.
That's the Empire's flaw. Too much constraint.
And you can't have just dark, pure potential because then nothing exists. It's just chaos. You need the gradient. You need the flow between the two.
The tension is what makes reality happen.
Yes. Light and dark are just density variations in one single field.
This really helps clarify that it from bit correction, it's not the light creates the dark or the other way around.
No, they co-arise, just like it, matter, and bit information. You need the potential to create the form, and you need the form to express the potential.
So after all this, what does it mean for us? We've covered quantum mechanics, gravity, egos, and Jedi. If we step back, what is the big takeaway?
I think the summary comes down to that clean statement from the source. It from bit is not causation, it is phase transition.
Phase transition, that seems to be the anchor point for all of this.
It solves the fight between the digital and the analog camps. The universe isn't strictly one or the other.
It is gradient plus constraint.
Exactly. And bit and gradient aren't competitors, they're just different densities. It's an integrated view that unifies the smooth world of relativity with the chunky world of quantum mechanics.
It's funny, it makes me feel both very small and very big at the same time. I'm just a temporary condensation of probability, a whirlpool.
But on the other hand, you're made of the very same field as the entire universe.
Yeah.
And that's the beauty of it. It reminds you that you are a high-density informational condensation. You're a point where the universe has stabilized enough to look back at itself.
And that view integrates the fluid nature of our potential. The fact that we can change, learn, we have options, with the solid nature of reality, the fact that we have bodies and limits.
Precisely. It validates both the feeling of freedom and the feeling of constraint. You need both to exist.
Before we wrap up, there's one final thought from the source material that I found particularly, let's call it provocative. It's something for you, the listener, to chew on.
Oh, I know the one you mean. It's about relaxation.
Yeah. So we've established that structure, matter, is high-density information, and bit is low-density pattern. The source says, where information condenses, structure appears.
But then it follows up with the inverse. Where structure relaxes, information disperses.
Which implies a kind of entropy of identity.
Right.
So if your reality, your ego, is just a knot of tension, what happens when you truly relax?
If the structure relaxes too much, the information disperses back into the gradient.
It makes you wonder, is the stability of our reality, our self, dependent on us constantly maintaining that tension? And if we stopped, would we just dissolve back into the field?
A question for the ages, or at least a question for the gradient.
Thanks for diving deep with us today.
Always a pleasure.